The massive Alliance flagship, Star Seeker, hung in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud on a sunny day. Commander Rex stood at the bridge's main viewport, his four eyes narrowed as he studied the blue planet below. His scaled skin shifted from deep purple to a cautious orange, a clear sign of his unease. "Sir, we're receiving the third transmission from their United Nations, requesting peaceful first contact," reported First Officer Wells, her antenna twitching with anticipation. Rex turned slowly, his ceremonial armor catching the starlight. "These humans are an odd species. Our scans show they still keep wild creatures in their homes and streets. Barbaric." He clicked his mandibles in disapproval. "Still, protocol demands we meet with them. Prepare the diplomatic shuttle." The landing site chosen was a sprawling building in Geneva, Switzerland. The Alliance delegation arrived in a display of advanced technology, their shuttle barely making a sound as it touched down on the manicured lawn. Local news crews and a crowd of onlookers watched from behind security barriers, many holding up their phones to record humanity's first official alien contact. Inside the UN building's main conference room, Ambassador Tom Miller adjusted his tie nervously. Beside his chair lay Max, a golden retriever wearing a blue service dog vest. The dog's calm presence helped steady Tom's nerves as he reviewed his notes one last time. The doors slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Rex entered first, flanked by two guards in sleek armor. The alien commander stood nearly 7 feet tall, his iridescent scales shifting through various shades of purple as he took in the room. Everything was going according to protocol until Rex's eyes fell on Max. The commander's scales flashed bright red. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, his translator making his voice sound like grinding metal. "You bring a beast to a diplomatic meeting." Tom stood slowly, keeping his voice steady. "Commander Rex, this is Max, my service companion. He's a weapon." Rex cut him off, taking a step back. Guards, defensive positions. They'd brought an attack beast to the negotiations. Max, sensing the tension, simply sat up and tilted his head curiously at the aliens. His tail wagged slightly, thumping softly against the carpeted floor. The human delegation erupted in confused protests. No, you don't understand," Tom tried to explain. "Max is a trained service dog. He helps people. He wouldn't hurt anyone." But Rex wasn't listening. His scales had turned a deep crimson as he watched Max's every move. When the dog yawned, showing his teeth, Rex practically jumped backward. "On our worlds, we eliminated such savage creatures centuries ago," Rex declared. "Any species that still keeps beasts as weapons cannot be trusted. This meeting is over." "Wait," Tom called out. "Max, stay." The dog obediently remained sitting as Tom took a step forward. "Commander, you're making a huge mistake. Dogs are our companions, our helpers. Max is trained to." The commander raised all 4 arms in what his species considered a gesture of warding off evil. "We've seen enough. Your kind keeps predators as pets, brings them to diplomatic functions, and calls this civilization." He backed toward the door. "The Alliance will be discussing an appropriate response to this barbarism." As the alien delegation hastily retreated, Max let out a single friendly woof, causing several of the alien guards to flinch visibly. The sound echoed in the now quiet conference room. Tom sank back into his chair, running his hands through his hair in disbelief. Max patted over and rested his head on Tom's knee, offering comfort as he always did when his human was stressed. "Good boy," Tom said quietly, scratching behind Max's ears. "You just caused an interstellar diplomatic incident by being too cute, probably a first in dog history." Outside, news crews captured footage of the Alliance shuttle taking off at high speed, leaving behind a very confused crowd and a lot of questions. Nobody knew it yet, but humanity's first contact had just gone very, very wrong, all because of a simple misunderstanding about man's best friend. In orbit, Commander Rex was already sending urgent messages to the Alliance Council. His final words before the Star Seeker jumped to faster-than-light travel would be recorded in history books. They don't just keep beasts. They bring them to peace talks. Prepare the fleet. Earth must be contained before their savage ways spread to the stars. Tom and Max watched the alien ship vanish from Earth's sky through the conference room window. The dog's tail was still wagging. The emergency meeting of the UN Security Council stretched into its sixth hour. On screens around the room, satellite images showed more Alliance ships appearing at the edge of the solar system. Tom sat at the main table, absently petting Max, while military leaders debated strategy. "Another transmission from the Alliance fleet, sir," announced a communications officer. The room fell silent as Commander Rex's image appeared on the main screen, his scales now a threatening mix of red and black. "People of Earth," Rex's translator crackled. "Your barbaric practices cannot be allowed to continue. You have 48 hours to surrender and begin the process of containing your beasts, or we will be forced to take action." His four eyes narrowed. "We have observed your military training camps for these creatures. Disturbing." The screen showed footage of a K-9 police training facility in Germany. Dogs jumped through obstacle courses, found hidden objects, and performed rescue exercises. To human eyes, it showed highly trained service animals helping society. To Rex, it was evidence of humans breeding an army of monsters. "Commander," Tom stepped forward, Max at his side. "Please, you're misinterpreting everything you see. These animals are our helpers, our friends. Let me show you." "Friends?" Rex's scales rippled with what might have been discussed. "We intercepted your planet's information networks. Look what we found." The screen filled with images, search and rescue dogs pulling survivors from rubble, police dogs helping catch criminals, guide dogs leading blind people through busy streets, therapy dogs visiting hospitals. To the Alliance, each image was more horrifying than the last. You use them for hunting, for warfare, for controlling your own population. Rex's voice rose. "And worst of all, you let them near your young." The next image showed a classroom full of children reading to dogs, a common program to help kids improve their reading skills. Several military officers couldn't help but smile at how Rex had completely misunderstood the peaceful scene. Tom tried again. "Commander, Max here has helped me through panic attacks, depression, and it has infiltrated your mind." Rex interrupted. "These creatures have psychological control over your species. This is worse than we thought." He leaned closer to the camera. "We've seen the training camps you call shelters where you keep thousands of beasts. We know about the secret programs you call adoption days. Your time is running out." The transmission cut off. In the silence that followed, Max gave a soft whine and nuzzled Tom's hand. "Well," said General Walker, standing up from his chair, "that could have gone better. They think we're running some kind of monster breeding program instead of saving homeless pets." "Sir," a junior officer spoke up, "Alliance ships are taking up attack positions. They're scanning every major city, specifically targeting animal shelters, veterinary hospitals, and pet stores." Tom looked down at Max, who stared back with warm brown eyes full of trust. "They're going to attack Earth because they think dogs are weapons of war. How do we explain to an advanced alien species that we just really love our pets?" "Maybe we don't explain," General Walker said thoughtfully. "Maybe we need to show them." He walked over and knelt down to pet Max, who happily accepted the attention. "Ambassador Miller, I have an idea. But it's going to require Max's help, and it's a bit risky." "Sir," Tom replied, "Max has never backed down from helping people, even if those people have scales and four eyes." The general nodded. "Good, because we have 47 hours to change the minds of an alien species that thinks a golden retriever is a weapon of mass destruction." Outside the UN building, life in Geneva continued almost normally, except for the massive alien ships now visible in the daylight sky. In parks across the city, people walked their dogs, played fetch, and enjoyed the sunshine. completely unaware that their ordinary acts of companionship with their pets looked like military exercises to the worried aliens above. In orbit, Commander Rex watched these scenes with growing concern. "Look how they drill their beast forces even now," he told his officers. "Prepare the first strike team. We must save humanity from itself." The clock was ticking. Commander Rex stood in his private quarters aboard the Starseeker, watching a hologram of his homeworld, Meridia. The pristine cities gleamed with perfect order. No animals, no disorder, no chaos. His scales shifted to a deep blue of remembrance as memories flooded back. "Computer," he commanded, "show historical records of the Great Purification." A hologram changed to show ancient scenes from his world. Centuries ago, his people had eliminated all non-sentient life forms from their planet. They called it progress, civilization, the only proper way forward for an advanced species. "Sir," First Officer Wells interrupted his thoughts. "You should see this. Our surveillance drones captured something disturbing." The hologram switched to live footage from Earth. Rex watched in horror as a small human child wrapped their arms around a massive beast, what humans called a Saint Bernard. But instead of attacking, the creature just licked the child's face, causing laughter. "Impossible," Rex muttered. "They've somehow corrupted natural predator instincts. This is worse than we imagined." Meanwhile, on Earth, Tom sat in his apartment, looking through old photos of Max. He found the picture from the day they first met at the shelter 3 years ago. Max had been brought in as a scared, abandoned puppy, found wandering the streets in the rain. "You weren't much of a beast then, were you, buddy?" Tom smiled as present day Max rested his head on his lap. The dog's tail wagged at the sound of his voice. The photo album showed Max's journey: obedience school, service dog training, his graduation ceremony. Tom paused at a particular photo that showed Max helping him through a panic attack during a crowded conference. The dog had sensed his distress before even Tom noticed it coming. In orbit, Rex received more surveillance reports. His intelligence officers were growing increasingly confused. "Sir," one reported, "we've discovered their beast training facilities are called shelters, but they're not military installations. They're rescue centers. The humans take in abandoned creatures and care for them." "Nonsense," Rex snapped. "Show me more evidence of their warrior beasts." The screens filled with images: a chihuahua wearing a tiny sweater, a pug snoring on a couch, a Labrador playing fetch in a park, a therapy dog visiting elderly humans in a nursing home. Rex's scales flickered between colors of confusion and denial. It must be some kind of trick. No civilized species would willingly share their homes with. He trailed off as a new image appeared. It showed a human police officer crying at a memorial service. Next to him sat his police dog partner, gray around the muzzle, pressing against the officer's leg in a clear gesture of comfort. The dog's own eyes seemed to hold an understanding of his partner's grief. "Sir," First Officer Wells said quietly, her antenna drooping slightly, "I've been studying their historical records. Humans and these dogs have been companions for over 30,000 years. They evolved together. The dogs chose to join human society. Impossible." Rex turned away from the screens. No predator species would choose to become a companion, to help instead of hunt, to protect instead of attack. Back on Earth, Tom led Max through a busy park. Despite the alien ships looming overhead, people were still out walking their dogs. A small girl in a wheelchair smiled as Max gently approached her, letting her pet his soft fur. "Your dog is so nice," she said to Tom. "Is he scared of the aliens?" Tom shook his head. "Max isn't scared of much. He just wants to help people, even if those people have scales and 4 eyes." In his quarters, Rex watched this scene through drone footage. His scales shifted to a color his species rarely displayed: uncertainty. "Computer," he ordered, "show me more about the history of Earth's dogs. Show me everything." As the countdown to invasion ticked below 24 hours, two very different species were about to learn that sometimes the fiercest beasts were the ones with the gentlest hearts, and that true civilization might not mean what the Alliance always thought it meant. Max, unaware of his role in this interstellar drama, simply continued doing what dogs had done for millennia, being humanity's loyal friend. The Alliance ships struck at midnight. Bright beams of energy lit up the sky above major cities, targeting what they believed to be beast training facilities. In reality, they hit animal shelters, veterinary hospitals, and pet stores. The attack was precise, designed to minimize human casualties while eliminating what Rex saw as humanity's greatest threat, their animal companions. But the Alliance hadn't counted on those very companions being the ones to save lives. In Seattle, a German shepherd named Rocky woke his entire apartment building by barking just before the attack, giving everyone time to reach the basement shelter. The Alliance soldiers who later investigated couldn't understand why their scans showed the attack beast had run up and down every floor, stopping at each door. The creature alerted the humans to our coming. An Alliance officer reported to Rex. Somehow, it knew. In London, the situation grew even more confusing for the alien forces. Their attack had collapsed part of a hospital, but their cameras showed something unexpected. Search and rescue dogs were pulling people from the rubble, their handlers guiding them with quiet commands. "Sir," First Officer Wells reported to Rex, her antenna twitching in confusion. "The beasts. They're digging humans out. They're saving them." Rex's scales shifted to a mix of purple and green, confusion and disbelief. It must be some kind of trick. Continue the operation. At the UN building in Geneva, Tom and Max had just finished evacuating the last group of diplomats when they spotted something moving in the shadows. Max's ears perked up, and he gave a soft growl, not aggressive, but alert. "What is it, boy?" Tom whispered. Max led them to a corner where 3 Alliance infiltrators had been hiding, their advanced camouflage technology making them nearly invisible. The dog didn't attack. He simply sat and stared at the spot, tail wagging slightly, until security arrived. "The creature detected our stealth technology," one captured infiltrator later reported. "But it didn't assault us. It just revealed our position and waited. This defies everything we know about predator species." Reports kept flooding into Rex's command center, each more bewildering than the last. A therapy dog in Chicago refused to leave a group of scared children in a hospital, keeping them calm during the evacuation. In Tokyo, a small Shiba Inu led a group of elderly residents through back streets to safety, avoiding Alliance patrols. A golden retriever in Paris pulled his owner back from a collapsing building, then helped guide others to safe routes. "Sir," Wells said quietly, "I've analyzed the patterns. The beasts, the dogs, they're not attacking our forces. They're not even threatening us. They're just helping the humans, protecting them, like they've always done." Rex watched the screens, his scales shifting through colors of confusion. But they're predators. They have teeth, claws. They should be savage. In the command center's main screen, they watched as a rescue dog found a small child trapped under debris. The savage beast gently licked the child's face, stayed close to keep them warm, and barked until help arrived. Back in Geneva, Tom and Max had set up a temporary command post in the UN building's basement. Max moved from person to person, offering comfort with a gentle nuzzle or a paw on the knee. Even the most stressed diplomats found themselves smiling when he visited them. "Some weapon of war you are," Tom said fondly, watching his dog comfort a crying child. "You're probably causing mass confusion up there just by being yourself." He was right. In orbit, Rex stood alone in his quarters, watching the endless stream of footage. Every instinct from his species' history told him that Earth's dogs were dangerous beasts that needed to be eliminated. But his eyes showed him something else. Creatures of remarkable gentleness, loyalty, and intelligence, working alongside humans as true partners. Perhaps he said quietly to himself, his scales shifting to a new color, one that his species used for moments of profound realization. We have made a terrible mistake. The first phase of the Alliance attack was complete, but its results were nothing like what they had expected. Instead of finding an army of savage beasts, they had discovered something far more powerful, the unshakable bond between humans and their oldest friends. Junior Officer Davis of the Alliance forces had never disobeyed orders in his life. His scales had always stayed the proper shade of loyal blue. But now, crouched behind a fallen wall in what remained of a Miami emergency shelter, he found his scales shifting to colors he didn't even know he could make. The reason for his confusion sat a few feet away. A small brown dog with a white chest, wearing a bright orange vest, with the words "Therapy Dog" on it. The creature had been making regular trips through the rubble, somehow finding survivors that the Alliance's advanced scanners had missed. "Sir," Davis spoke into his communicator, "I've been observing one of the beasts for the past hour. It's not what we thought." "Explain," Rex's voice crackled back. "It's finding injured humans, but not to hunt them. It's helping them." And Davis paused, his scales rippling with uncertainty. "It just brought me water." Indeed, the therapy dog named Buddy had dropped a bottle of water at the alien's feet before trotting off to continue his work. Davis hadn't even realized the dog knew he was there. Across the city, similar reports were coming in. Alliance soldiers, sent to contain what they believed were dangerous creatures, found themselves witnessing scene after scene that challenged everything they'd been taught. In a makeshift medical center, an elderly golden retriever lay beside a group of children, letting them pet him while medics treated their minor injuries. The dog's presence kept the kids calm and distracted from the chaos around them. "The beast is using some kind of calming technique on the young ones," one soldier reported. "No," responded a human nurse, overhearing him. "He's just being a dog. This is what they do. They care." At the UN Command Center, Tom and Max were coordinating with rescue teams when they received an unexpected transmission. An Alliance scout ship had crashed on the outskirts of Geneva. Without waiting for orders, Max was already heading for the door. "You want to help them, don't you?" Tom asked, quickly grabbing his emergency kit. "Even though they're the ones who attacked us." Max's tail wagged in response. Of course he wanted to help. That's what dogs did. They found the crashed ship smoking in a field. 2 Alliance soldiers were trapped inside, their scales dark with fear as they saw the approaching human and dog. But Max simply began sniffing around the wreckage, quickly finding a way in through the damaged hull. "He's going to attack," one alien cried. Instead, Max gently gripped the alien's sleeve in his mouth and helped pull him free of the wreckage. He then returned for the second soldier, while Tom provided first aid to the first. The rescued aliens stared in disbelief as Max sat calmly beside them, occasionally nuzzling their hands in reassurance. "I don't understand," one soldier said, his scales shifting to a confused yellow. "In training, they told us Earth's beasts were weapons." Tom smiled, patting Max's head. "The only weapon here is his love, and he gives that freely to everyone." The news of the rescue spread quickly through the Alliance fleet. Commander Rex watched the footage in his command center, his 4 eyes fixed on the scene of his own soldiers being saved by one of the creatures he had feared so much. "Sir," First Officer Wells approached carefully, "we've been analyzing all the data from the surface. There's something you need to see." She played a compilation. Dogs leading people to safety. Dogs finding survivors. Dogs comforting the scared and injured. Dogs welcoming Alliance soldiers with the same tail wags they gave to humans. "They don't know they're supposed to be our enemies," Wells said quietly. "They just see people who might need help." Rex's scales shifted through a rainbow of colors before settling on a shade he had never worn before, the color of someone who realizes they have understood everything wrong. "Send word to all forces," he said finally. "I want to speak with the human ambassador and his dog. I believe we have much to learn about what it truly means to be civilized." In the field below, Max continued to watch over the rescued aliens, demonstrating with every gentle action that humanity's greatest weapons had never been teeth or claws, but rather the capacity for unconditional love and loyalty that humans and dogs had shared for thousands of years. Commander Rex had never led a ground assault personally in his 30 years of military service. Yet here he was, stepping out of his shuttle onto Earth soil, his personal guard unit following close behind. His scales rippled with determination as he strode toward the Geneva diplomatic quarter. "Sir," First Officer Wells hurried beside him. "Are you sure about this?" "The reports suggest." "I must see for myself," Rex cut her off. "No more remote observations. No more drone footage. I will face these creatures directly." The diplomatic quarter was largely evacuated, damage from the earlier attacks visible on several buildings. As Rex's team moved through the quiet streets, they heard a sound that made their scales bristle. Barking. "Defensive positions," Rex ordered, but what rounded the corner wasn't what he expected. A small squad of dogs, led by Max, was guiding a group of injured civilians to safety. The golden retriever stopped when he saw the aliens, but instead of aggression, he simply tilted his head curiously. The beast approaches. One of Rex's guards raised his weapon. "Hold your fire," Rex commanded, his scientific curiosity overtaking his fear. He watched as Max calmly walked up to them, stopping a respectful distance away. Then, to everyone's surprise, Max lay down, rolled over, and exposed his belly, the ultimate gesture of trust from a dog. "Sir," Wells whispered, "our xenobiologists say this is a sign of submission." "Not submission," came Tom's voice as he caught up with Max. "Trust. He's showing you he's not a threat, that he's willing to be vulnerable to prove it." Rex's scales shifted through colors of confusion. Everything he'd been taught about predator species, about civilization, about the proper order of things, none of it matched what he was seeing. A small whimper drew their attention. One of the injured civilians, a young girl, had stumbled. Before any human or alien could react, Max was already there, letting her lean against him for support. "I don't understand," Rex said, his translator struggling to convey his mix of emotions. "Our histories tell us that predator species cannot be trusted, that they must be eliminated for civilization to advance. Yet this creature shows more civilization than those who would judge him without knowing him," Tom suggested quietly. As if to emphasize the point, Max left the girl with another dog and approached Rex again. This time, he simply sat and offered his paw, just as he'd been trained to do when meeting new friends. Rex stared at the extended paw. In all his species' history, no commander had ever shown uncertainty in the field. Yet his scales were cycling through colors faster than his guards had ever seen. Slowly, carefully, Rex reached out one of his 4 hands and took the offered paw. Max's tail began to wag. "Sir," a guard protested, "this is highly irregular." "Yes," Rex agreed, still holding Max's paw. "Everything about Earth is irregular. They keep predators as companions. They treat other species with kindness. He paused, watching as other dogs continued their rescue work nearby. They build civilization not by eliminating nature, but by forming bonds with it." Tom watched in amazement as the fearsome alien commander knelt down to be closer to Max's level. The dog responded by giving Rex's face a gentle lick, causing the alien scales to flash in surprise, before settling into a completely new color, one that First Officer Wells had never seen before. "Commander," she asked cautiously. "Contact the fleet," Rex said, still petting Max with one hand while using another to scratch behind the dog's ears. He'd seen humans do this in his surveillance footage. "All hostile actions are to cease immediately." "Sir," Wells blinked all 4 eyes in surprise. "We came here thinking we would save humanity from their beasts," Rex said, watching as Max happily accepted belly rubs from other curious alien soldiers. Instead, these creatures have shown us what we lost when we chose to eliminate all other species from our world. Perhaps we are the ones who need saving. As if understanding the gravity of the moment, Max gave a soft woof of agreement, causing several aliens to jump in surprise. And then, for the first time in recorded Alliance history, laugh. The war that had started because of a dog was about to end because of one too. And somewhere in the great infinity of space, the universe smiled at the simple wisdom of tail wags and belly rubs. 1 month after the Great Misunderstanding, as humans now called it, the UN Assembly Hall was packed with an unusual mix of delegates. Humans sat side by side with Alliance representatives, and most surprisingly, dogs were welcome everywhere. Commander Rex stood at the podium, his scales now permanently showing new color patterns that the Alliance xenobiologists were still trying to classify. They called it the Earth effect, the way their scales had developed new colors after prolonged exposure to dogs. On behalf of the Alliance, Rex began, his translator now adjusted to sound less threatening. I present our formal apology to Earth. We came here believing we were more advanced, more civilized. We were wrong. In the front row, Tom sat with Max, who was wearing a new vest that read Interstellar Peace Ambassador, a title that had been officially recognized by both Earth and Alliance governments. Our own history, Rex continued, tells of how we eliminated all non-sentient life from our worlds, believing it was the path to civilization. But Earth has shown us a different path, one of partnership, of mutual growth, of... He paused as Max gave a friendly bark, causing several Alliance members to chuckle rather than flinch, of unexpected friendships. The Assembly Hall's screen showed images from the past month, Alliance soldiers learning to play fetch in parks, alien scientists being taught how to give belly rubs, a group of scaled children cautiously petting their first puppy. Therefore, Rex announced, the Alliance proposes 2 initiatives. First, the establishment of the Interspecies Understanding Program, where humans and their canine companions will help us rediscover what we lost. And second, his scales shifted to an embarrassed purple. I would like to request a dog of my own. The hall erupted in applause and happy barks. In the following weeks, shelters across Earth would find themselves hosting alien visitors, each hoping to form the same kind of bond they had witnessed between humans and dogs. First Officer Wells, now promoted to Cultural Exchange Director, had already adopted a retired search and rescue dog named Scout. The concept of rescue dogs helped us understand. She explained to a group of Alliance cadets. These creatures choose to save lives, to help others, not because they must, but because they can. Tom and Max had become celebrities in both human and Alliance space. They traveled between worlds, helping aliens understand the unique bond between humans and dogs. Max seemed to especially enjoy zero-gravity belly rubs. At the new Alliance embassy in Geneva, Commander Rex sat in his office, his own newly adopted companion sleeping at his feet. The dog, a gentle mixed breed from a local shelter, had been named Hope by his staff. You know, he said to Tom during one of their regular meetings, on my world, we had a saying, civilization is the victory over nature. Now I think perhaps civilization is learning to understand nature instead. Max, lying beside Hope, gave a sleepy woof of agreement. The changes spread throughout Alliance space. Parks were being built for the first time in centuries. Alliance ships now had designated pet-friendly areas. There were even rumors that some Alliance members were beginning to carefully reintroduce other animals to their worlds, under the guidance of human ecological experts. In what became known as the Puppy Protocol, all future first contact missions were required to include at least one dog on the diplomatic team. After all, as one human diplomat put it, if a species can't handle a friendly dog, they might not be ready for interstellar relations. Back in Geneva, as the sun set over the city, Tom watched Max playing with Hope in the embassy garden. Ambassador Rex, he had insisted on giving up his military title, sat nearby, his scales showing that new, unique color that only appeared when he was truly happy. "You know what's funny?" Tom said. "You came here thinking dogs were our greatest weakness." Rex nodded, scratching Hope behind the ears with practiced ease. Instead, they proved to be humanity's greatest strength. They taught us, are still teaching us, what it truly means to be civilized. As if to emphasize the point, both dogs ran over to their respective companions, tails wagging, offering unconditional love to human and alien alike. In that simple gesture lay the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes the fiercest warriors aren't those with the sharpest teeth, but those with the biggest hearts. Max and Hope shared a playful bark, and somewhere in the vast universe, another species learned about the wonderful creatures called dogs and wondered what other miracles Earth might teach them.